What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this one, we have the 22 SAS does one simple thing different in war. Before we dive into this video, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to smash subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you would like to support this channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is smash that join button and receive your exclusive benefits. Let's dive right in.
Is there a specific NATO ally of yours that you've always been really impressed by? Maybe I know everyone talks about like England and France, but is there a NATO ally that has always kind of for you been impressive?
Um, One stands out because of a decision, but before I get to that, I've worked with SOF in many countries: Australian, British, or the Polish Grom, the Brits, Italians, Spanish. Um, I've had the good fortune of being around a lot of them, and they all produce really good people. They're funded and equipped differently than we are in the U.S., but they're all really good. They're good at what they do. The best decision I saw throughout my entire career was when I was with the Brits in Iraq. As a matter of fact, the night we came off that target I was talking about, um, it was in the morning, so sun's coming up. We landed at the base, the forward operating base, and intel meets us at the vehicles and says, "Hey, we got to beat on Zarqawi. We want you to go get Zarqawi right now." And had I been with some of the other forces I worked with, they'd have turned around, gotten on a helicopter, and gone after him without even thinking about it. And the Brits went, "We want to do some mission analysis." And we went back to the ops center. We went to a room. The officers actually said, "Hey, enlisted guys, go do your thing." And I watched the enlisted SAS guys go through the decision-making process. They laid out all the facts and assumptions, and to include the condition of us. Like we've been doing back-to-back missions every night, not getting a whole lot of sleep, and we're coming off the target. They want us to go faster up into a hardened target after the sun came up. And the guys went, "First off, we don't believe your intel is completely accurate. If it is, he won't move because he doesn't move during the day, so he'll be there. We'll go get 4 or 5 hours of sleep. We'll wake up and then we'll go into mission planning, but we're not going right now." And the officers backed him up on it. And I remember just sitting there in awe going, this was the best decision I've ever seen made. Not only was the decision good, but how they got to it was really good. So I have a strong affinity for the British SAS because I spent 10 days with them and I watched them make a decision that I know for a fact other forces would have gone, we'd have gotten a helicopter shot out of the sky for no reason because we'd have gone in the daytime. He wouldn't have been there. It's still a hardened target. And
Dang.
when you fast up out of the helicopter in the morning, when people are just waking up, you're nothing but a target. I thought it was a great decision. So I have a strong affinity for the British SAS.
I feel like that's absolutely awesome for him to witness. To think that he said like other targets like would have went, or other forces would have went straight for the target. He's not there. Helicopter wouldn't got shot. Would have got shot out the sky. It would have been a bad decision. But the SAS did something differently, right? They said before we just go and chase it right after him. Let's come back. Let's go through all the facts that we have. Let's do mission analysis. Let's also take into condition the condition of the soldier, or take into account the condition of the soldiers. Let's do all of this before we decide to go and pursue this target. And so after the decision making process, and they go through all of this, I assume he said get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, then go attack because he target's not usually not there during that time of day anyway. He's like, this is the best I've ever seen because, like he said, other forces would have just ran off 100% and hurry up and tried to attack, but the SAS was like, no, like let's take into account all the facts we have, assumptions. Know what I'm saying? Because we don't believe the intelligence is 100% accurate. So let's take in all different kinds of scenarios that we could run into, and they made the decision after analyzing all the information that they had. Absolutely incredible.
Did they ever get a concrete answer whether or not he had been there when they thought he was?
Yeah. Yeah. By the time we woke up, they're like, "Yeah, he's not there." And the enlisted guys were like, "Exactly." So you just send us into something. But dude, the intel guys, they were like, "You got to go do it now or we'll lose this opportunity." And they just didn't allow the emotion of the moment to get in the way of making a good decision. It was impressive.
Can you talk to us real quick about the Polish Grom? Again, that's something that the average viewer's never heard of once. I am Polish in large part, so I've always had a little bit of a fascination with them. If you could compare the Polish Grom, what would kind of be their American counterpart? Would it be like Green Berets, Navy SEALs? Like, what would they compare to?
Well, I would say, kind of a hybrid between the Green Berets and the Delta. Like it's,
Rays,
very
okay.
few countries have the funding to go, we're going to have 5,000 Green Berets and we're going to have Delta Force, right? It's a lot of, uh, it's a big expense.
Yeah.
So like in my experience with the Grom, which is minimal, I won't say I've got a deep experience with them, and it was back in the late 90s. They had their big capability, but then they also had a counterterrorism capability. When we worked with them, it was very limited time. I think it was about a week, but extremely professional in what they were doing, very capable. Again, my experience with all the soft forces from all the nations I've worked with, they're all the same guys. They're guys who want to go do something. They're triple or quadruple volunteers, meaning they volunteer to join the military, they volunteer to jump out of airplanes, they volunteer to go through an assessment selection, and then if they go to the tier 1 level, they volunteer to go through that selection as well. Um, and when you get to the end, the difference isn't the dude. The difference is how well funded, how well equipped, and what's the political landscape in their country. Um, and I've got nothing but great things to say about all the soft forces, to include all the U.S. forces.
Well, and that is a great segue to kind of one of our, we're winding down here. I just got a few questions left, but I always ask everyone who comes from a tier 1 element on this show the exact same question. People always have varying opinions, but they like to have fun with it. Delta versus SEAL Team 6 is obviously a very classic rivalry in the military community. You've had the opportunity to serve at the tier 1 level, and you know both organizations very well. So you are one of the few humans who can give an opinion unbiasedly because you're not part of either, but you work with them. How would you compare and contrast those two units?
Yes,
Oh,
I
that's a good
I'll use a
question.
different term just because I think it's more specific. I embedded with them, right? I lived with them for 6 months at a time,
Oh,
both
dang.
pre-deployment and alert and deployment. Um, when it comes to being on target and you go, hey, I got to go capture, kill somebody, they're both wonderful options. They're both great organizations.
Yeah.
They have different strengths and weaknesses. I would say
Hmm.
um, Delta Force has a stoicism about them. That is, they are stoics as an organization. The
Hmm.
first day I went over to pull alert with them, a teammate of mine who was introducing me to the guys I was working with takes me over and introduces me. We're talking, and he walks out of the room, and a Delta operator walks in. And he just stands there and looks at me, and he doesn't say hi. He doesn't say hey, welcome to the team. He just standing there looking at me, and I found it to be odd. I think a lot of people get uncomfortable in silence, and I
Yeah.
don't. So I just stood there and looked back at him. But it kind of defines how they engage with people. They're mission focused, and if you're not one of them, they kind of want to understand why you're around them. But really good at what they do.
Said mission focus. If you ain't one of them, they want to understand why you around them. Like what's going on? He ain't one of us, is he? So what he doing here?
SEALs are also really good at what they do, but SEALs only draw from the SEAL community. So
Mm,
when you go through their assessment selection for Dev Group versus the assessment selection for Delta, they're kind of different, right? Up at the SEALs, it's, hey, we know about you. Your reputation carries a certain amount of weight. We're going to put you through all these rigors. Um, and then, some guys we will select, some guys we won't. Where Delta, you can be pulled from anywhere. And they've got to look at you from a very baseline of who you are. And I think those two different types of processes have cultural effects on both organizations. Um, so that'd be my feedback to you. They're both great organizations, great people. I keep in contact closely. As a matter of fact, 3 weeks ago I was in Germany, and uh, uh, my buddy who I was in on the Ebola Boss mission with, where we shot the vehicle coming at us. He called me out of the blue. He's like, "Hey man, I'm just checking in on you." And then yesterday I was reaching out to one of my Delta buddies because I knew he had some health issues, and he and I are communicating still today. I have good friends on both sides of the house, and I've seen challenges on both sides of the house, but both wonderful organizations.
If there is, again, because I think you can provide an unbiased answer, is there a mission where you could think of that only one or the other to be chosen for? Like, if we had to do this, we would always go with DevGru. If we had to do this kind of mission, we would always go with Delta. Are there like real
Sure.
examples you could choose?
Yeah, anything on the water, you're going to go with SEAL Team Six. That's their second
Okay.
nature. Whether it's taking down a ship or doing it over the beach or a dive operation, a team of divers at Delta Force. It's not in their DNA. They may have the certification,
Mm,
but they don't live, eat, and breathe it.
yeah.
Um,
So
and
SEAL
there are a
Team
lot of
Six,
land missions
anything in the
that
water.
uh, Delta Force does that the SEALs wouldn't be involved in. The SEALs, through 2 decades in Afghanistan and Iraq, have become better land warfare operators, and they're very capable. But if you got to choose between Delta and SEAL Team Six, why wouldn't you take the people that if that's their base
I
mission?
feel that. That
So
makes
absolutely,
sense. That's what they do. Like you said, they live, breathe it. So Delta on land, that's what they do. That's where they operate. That's where their experience come from. But when you're talking about the water, you go with SEAL team because that's what they do. That's their biggest strength. That's they live, breathe being in the water. Like that's where they're most comfortable. So you obviously go with them, and so it makes sense. I mean, each team has each force, and basically what he's been saying throughout the interview has different strengths and weaknesses, and so in different certain scenarios, certain environments, you're gonna pick this team 9 times out of 10. Or probably 10 times out of 10 if you can to go and deal with this scenario in this certain environment.
absolutely. They both have unique missions.
And this is how we're going to wrap up the this section before we get into the Combat Control Foundation. It's my understanding, based off of when we had our pre-interview discussion, you had the opportunity. You said no to both organizations at the kind of at the end of your career. Is that correct?
I did well. It was really towards the middle of my career when I was still at the 24th. We had our LNO up in Virginia. He was leaving, and the command asked me would I like to go do that job. And then the sitting sergeant major over at Delta, the ops sergeant major, he called me right around the same time and said, "Hey, I'd like you to come be our LNO." And I told them both, I said, "I'm not interested in doing that." And the response I got from both was, "Why the fuck wouldn't you come to the best unit in all of the U.S. military?" And my response was, "I'm in the best unit in the military as a combat controller. I get to go work with anybody at any time when the mission goes down. If
That's
I'm
pretty
your
awesome.
LNO or if I'm your LNO, then I only go on the things that you are slated for."
I
Um,
feel that.
and I wouldn't bind myself. And part of the logic behind that to make it more tangible for the listeners, once we took over Baghdad International, every night I was going out on missions, and I was either with the Navy or the Rangers. One night I got called out to do a mission with the SEALs. Sorry, not the SEALs, the SAS. Um, and then I had missions I was going out with combat controllers, right? Running airfield and stuff like that. So if I'm doing that every single night while these guys come back and they go into their 48, 72-hour rest cycle, I'd rather be going back to back missions than coming back and going to rest cycle when I'm not doing something. And
I
that
feel
was my
that.
logic for it. And nothing against those units. They are great units. And it's a tremendous honor. The guys who go do those jobs, they have a lot of responsibility. They're highly respected. Um, and they're leading paratroopers and combat controllers up in those units. But for me, it was more about leading our own guys and always being able to go on any mission that I feel on.
I love that. I
I
love
do
that.
too.
And I think
That's
that
really
the
cool.
audience is going to enjoy that entire segment, especially because, again, you are one of the few people who can look at it unbiasedly and kind of lay down your assessment of it. I want to get into the Combat Control Foundation now, which I know is very
I
important.
feel like just listening, that's really cool too. That was a really great answer. He's saying like, if I was to commit to either one of you, I'd be tied down to only your missions and only things that you go and do. But as a combat controller, like I get missions all the time, and I get to go work with different teams all the time. So I'm not tied down to certain missions or certain teams. I get to work with so many people in so many different things and so many different missions. So why would I give that up? That makes the way he put it makes complete sense, and I'm like, yeah, like why would you want to give that up?
To you. You
Yeah.
serve on the board of it. Can you explain to the audience what the Combat Control Foundation is and what the goal of it is?
Yeah. So, you know, the goal is to take care of our people. 2 decades of war, and then previous to that, I mean, we got our Vietnam era guys, we got our guys in the '80s, we got our guys who maybe didn't go to war, but have needs. Um, we're there to help fill those needs. The VA and the civilian medical system can only do so much. And I'll give you an example. We got a call about 6 weeks ago. A former teammate of mine, um, he was having some issues and he was in a hospital. And his wife called us and said, they don't understand what he's done. So they don't understand how to handle him. They're treating him like a normal person off the streets and he's not responding well to it. So
Mm,
I called Dre, our executive director. She's this wonderful person. Say, hey, here's what we got. We got on the phone with this guy's wife and said, okay, tell us what's going on. She walked us through everything that's going on. Dre immediately reached out to a special operations specific organization that helps guys who are in this type of distress. Within a week, we had him in this new position, and as of yesterday, he's doing great.
wow.
But in the regular civilian care system, he would have not gotten what he needed, and he was getting worse by the day. Um, so our job is to, raise money and take care of our people. We have 4 pillars.
I love that.
We've got
I
resilience,
love
we've got
that.
health, we've got education, and we've got heritage. And they probably fall in that order, right? Resilience is more about dealing with things that have happened in the past, or
Hmm.
preparing for things so that you're more equipped to handle them when they come at you. Health is clearly anything that has happened to you that the VA is not willing to help you with. Um, Education, we do scholarships for family members of our operators. Um,
I
and
love
then
that.
heritage, we dabble in that a little bit. That's a piece of our mission, but the bigger pieces are the front end of resilience and health. Um, so that's what we do. We go raise money, we take care of people, and
I love that. That sounds absolutely incredible. Raising money, taking care of people, making sure people's health is taken care of for people who serve. Offering scholarships for the family members of those who have served is hugely important, but the resilience part is incredible. Things that happened in the past and then preparing yourself for things that happen in the future. Um, and then helping that man where civilian care could not have helped him like they could have because of their experiences and everything. I think it's absolutely incredible. And I think it was really cool to hear about the SAS and the one thing that they do different there in the beginning of the video. That's all we have. If you guys enjoyed, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and check out the next one. I'll see you guys next time.